Welcome back to Press Start Living, everyone. I am Rockman's relative, a fortune teller from Hong Kong. Today I have another ghostly tale to share, which came from personal experience. Sit back and relax, let me take you on this journey. Remember, at the end of this video, check out the other ghost story I shared on this channel, and also see some Hong Kong themed videos on this channel too. Okay, so I've been having these incredibly vivid experiences for decades. These aren't things I see in the physical world, but I know they're real because they communicate with me, often through dreams. Unlike regular dreams that are fuzzy and easily forgotten, these dreams are crystal clear. It's like I'm there, living every moment. Sometimes it's deceased relatives who come to me in these dreams. And when I wake up, I feel completely awake, as if I hadn't slept at all, remembering every single detail as if it were a real-life interaction. Now let me take you back to Christmas 2013. I was about to move out of a place I sold in Tsim Sha Tsui because my son was studying across the harbour on Hong Kong Island, and we needed to find something closer to where he'd be studying. So we started looking around North Point, especially around Fortress Hill. We found a place quickly. Everything was set. We were supposed to sign the contract with the landlord through the agent, but just at the last moment, the landlord called to say did not want to commit to the government stamp duty, which is crucial because it protects both tenants and landlords. If they skip this step, it might mean they're hiding something. So we decided not to take that apartment. Instead, we moved to another building called Metropole Building. We met with the landlord there, signed the contract and got the keys. Before moving in, there's this tradition I follow. Whether I'm buying or renting, I always bless each corner of the home. I place offerings like sugar, pork, bean sprouts, and cooked rice in all four corners. It's a way of feeding the hungry ghosts, ensuring peace and protection in my new home. It's a ritual that means a lot to me, making sure my family and I start on the right foot in our new space. So when I set up my worshipping items, I usually prepare some fruits and joss paper because either my husband is at work or at school, which means I'm the one setting up the worshipping at home. Generally, during the week, my youngest son or I would take care of things like making sure everything is in place. This one time, I felt like the house didn't belong to us. I don't know why, but I felt like I needed to place everything right in the center of the house. This decision to burn joss paper in the center of the house, according to my feeling on that day, was revealed as the one reason why my misfortunes were so pronounced for the duration of our stay in this apartment. I would later realize this mistake and live through all of the experiences I share that follows. I hope to share the story with you all so that you won't repeat this mistake. To continue, I arranged a big tank, about 2 feet tall and a little over a foot in diameter, right in the middle of the room. Then I lit some candles and incense and started burning the joss paper indoors as an offering to the spirits. I talked to the spirits, telling them that if they had somewhere to go, they should. And if not, perhaps visit a temple, because it's a common practice to clear the air and vacate the remaining spirits when you first move in. My mom, who is a professional at conducting these rituals, always starts by offering water. But that day, I didn't know why I ended up burning joss paper right there in the center of the apartment. It wasn't long after burning it that we officially moved in, which was surprisingly on December 24th, the day before Christmas. It felt really odd moving in that day. After moving everything into the house and settling down, we were informed at night that the fresh water supply in the building was suddenly disrupted, which was very unusual. I've moved several times in my life, but this was the first time there was no water, which I took as a bad omen. Being a professional feng shui master, I can usually sense whether a place has good or bad energy, and here I felt something was off right away. A year later, after realizing my lease was up and wanting to buy a place instead of renewing the lease, we went to look at properties in Central. That morning, I felt something was wrong. My heart was racing. We looked at several apartments and also took my son to Victoria Park to play. Even after spending the whole day out, my heart wouldn't stop racing, which was really strange. I decided to go to the hospital, and there, the nurse checked my pulse and immediately admitted me to the emergency room due to my fast heartbeat. While waiting, I was asked why my heart was racing since 3 p.m. and why I hadn't sought medical help sooner. The nurse said not seeking medical attention immediately was risky. Do you know you could end up with heart failure? It was a tense moment. Although I wasn't really feeling the tension until I saw both doctors and nurses rushed in to help me once they realized my heart was racing so quickly and uncontrollably. They gave me an injection and did some tests on my heart and lungs. After an X-ray, they finally figured out I had an arrhythmia. This all happened just 1 month after we moved in around December, so within a month of moving in I discovered I had this heart condition, which was quite dangerous. In hindsight, oftentimes my mom says weird things about the house, like, what if it's haunted? And then there's my son. He once told me that when he was at school he felt like someone was standing right in front of him. I told him he was just being paranoid. However, I remember one day after school we were passing by the school near Fort Street. I was pulling him along as we walked past. He suddenly said he saw a little girl and an old lady. He often sees things on the street and tells me, but I never see them. Maybe those people were just too quick or too small for me to notice. But that day he insisted that he saw an old lady holding a girl's hand, and they even smiled at him. The street was very short, only about 50 meters long and mostly auto repair garages. Not many people around. I was right there. If someone was in front of me, I definitely should have seen them too. So when he said he saw the old lady and the girl, I was totally baffled because I couldn't see anyone. It was really strange. Years later, when he was older, I asked him if he remembered seeing those things when he was younger. He confirmed that he really did see that girl and the old lady and later realized they might have been ghosts. He was too young to understand what ghosts were back then, so it was not something he could have made up. After moving into this place in North Point, I quickly fell ill. It didn't take long to realize that there was something off about the place. Ignoring that eerie feeling, I found myself constantly needing medical attention, ending up at the hospital every week. My life seemed to fast forward with unexpected health issues. Most of my nights were spent at the hospital, specifically in the cardiology department at Pamela Ude Nethersole Eastern Hospital in Chaiwan. One night around 1 a.m., just as I was trying to sleep amidst the patient's monitoring machine noises, a new patient was wheeled into our room. I could see her long hair spread out as she lay there. The urgency was treated by about 6 or 7 nurses and a doctor crowding around her. Her mother stood by the doctor, visibly tense, fearing for her daughter who showed signs of severe cramping. The medical team was right next to my bed, barely a foot and a half away so I could hear everything. The doctor insisted on administering an injection. Without it, the girl's life was at risk. The situation was dire and honestly it scared me, even though I'm not someone who gets scared easily. The thought of a soul evaporating away near me if she passed away was unsettling. As they struggled to manage her convulsions and administer the necessary treatment, the hours ticked by, from 1 a.m. to past 3 a.m., and they were still not done. During those tense moments, I thought about trying to distract myself by reading some scriptures on my phone. I considered the lengthy Kshitigarbha Bodhisattva Sutra, but opted for the shorter Diamond Sutra, similar to the Heart Sutra, which I read through quickly. Despite its brevity, I was very sleepy by the end and decided to try to sleep. The girl next to me was probably still receiving treatment, but by then there wasn't much noise, and it seemed like they might have stabilized her condition. As I drifted off, I was somewhat relieved, thinking she hadn't passed away and I could finally get some rest. In my dream, I found myself still in the hospital, almost as if nothing had changed. My room in the dream mirrored the real one, with beds lined up and the same window. However, the dream took a strange turn when I saw 2 figures, a man and a woman, trying to push the girl from the next bed to the window, wanting to push her out of it and seemingly intent on making it look like she was attempting suicide. This part of the dream was particularly vivid and alarming. Nobody else seemed to notice or react to what was happening, which added to the eerie silence of the dream. Suddenly, the figures noticed that I was watching them. They turned around and their faces were unnaturally white, as pale as the Billy bookcases from IKEA that I had mentioned in another video. This ghostly appearance reminded me of a vampire-like spirit I had once seen in a dream while in Japan, which clung to the ceiling over my bed. In the dream, These pale figures with their stark white faces and contrasting black mouths stood out vividly, creating a haunting image that lingered even after I woke up. Yeah, I admit I'm scared, but not because I find ghost stories terrifying. Honestly, I think they're pointless. If it's not real, I just can't bring myself to believe in it. So I don't listen to ghost stories or watch horror movies. But strangely, these things keep showing up in my dreams, and they've been a recurring theme for years. They all share one thing in common. They have this eerie similarity to those white Billy bookcases from IKEA. Mostly they're dressed in black with black gauntlets. I don't know why, but whenever I see these figures, they are extremely unnerving. They're just not my thing. Again, I'm not scared, but these mythical creatures have an unnerving presence I cannot ignore, so I stay clear of those movies. However, these characters continue to appear in my dreams. Over the years, I've seen so many of them, they all have this common look, as white as those IKEA Billy bookshelves. Then these two characters just keep staring at you as if you shouldn't be meddling, as if it's none of your business. They told me to just leave, so I did. But as I left, those two continued to carry that girl in the next bed down. The patient they were carrying had long hair that reached all the way down to her spine. They gave me this nasty look, and then my heart instantly sank. It seemed like they really wanted to kill the girl from the next bed, like they were determined to see her dead. In my dream, I was so frantic, feeling an urgent need to find someone to come and help, but there was no one around. Absolutely no one. The nightmare was set in a very quiet hospital room, with no doctors, nurses, or security. It was just me witnessing everything. I saw these two people by the window trying to push the girl out. She was holding onto the window, refusing to be pushed out. Suddenly the girl broke down, and the two of them halted and just stared at me, like to make a point of their existence, which woke me up. I immediately felt that the girl must be okay. Although I strangely felt disconnected from the fate of that girl, deep down I was relieved that she was fine. When I opened my eyes wide, the girl was right next to me, sleeping. It must have been around 10 a.m. I was really tired, especially since I saw the emergency situation in the next bed that night. Meals came around 8 or 9 a.m., which I missed, but I didn't even think about eating. The person next to me hadn't eaten because she was so sick. She kept mentioning it was around 10 a.m. I asked her what happened last night. The doctors said that the injections she was given saved her. She was used to it, sadly. She told me she was 26 and had a disability that prevented her from walking. She was often in different hospitals and different departments handling her case, including cardiology and psychiatry, because of her muscular problems and neurological issues. No wonder her mom was so calm. She'd gotten used to these emergency episodes. At that moment, I realized that when people are sick, they might attract certain energies or entities, as mentioned in religious texts. In my dream, those two who appeared so real seemed intent on harming the patient, not just letting her be. It might be something out of the scriptures, suggesting that past life creditors come to claim what's owed to them in this life. But realizing this made me think about how real the connection between our physical ailments and spiritual beliefs might be. Even though I read both Buddhist and Christian scriptures, I'm not particularly devout. However, seeing these things made me believe that some of what is said in those scriptures might actually be real. So I've always believed in planting good seeds within yourself, because you never know when they'll sprout and bear fruit. I remember discussing this once when I went to church with some friends. I read both the Bible and other scriptures because I think it's important to keep an open mind and not dismiss anything that might actually be meaningful. Speaking of which, this girl from the hospital was going through something terrifying, which made me think even more about spiritual matters. It got me into reading more scriptures and chanting prayers. I specifically found the prayers to Bodhisattva Ksitigarbha very powerful. I used to follow Avalokiteshvara more when I was younger, but now I believe in both. Life became more routine. My condition stabilized. Back when I was often sick, I used to take my kid to the park almost daily, which felt like a luxury because those 2 years were tough. I couldn't do much because of my health. I was in and out of hospitals. So during those times, I learned that my home was somewhat haunted, which explained a lot of the weird stuff happening around. I realized it might be the spirits collecting old debts. According to some beliefs, this led me to make some strange decisions, like having late-night snacks or forgetting my sugar-free diet. All things I wouldn't usually do. That terrible mistake of offering burnt joss paper in the center of an apartment can be explained by this principle. When burning joss paper, you are offering sacrifices to the spirits. Traditionally, this is done in a new apartment at the front door. The reason for this is that placing offerings in the center of the apartment means the spirits need to come into the center of your apartment to eat, and they are reluctant to leave afterward. That's right. Burning joss papers in the center of your apartment is like opening the gates of hell right inside your apartment. Never do this. It should only be done at the front or of your apartment where the spirits cannot come into your place. And so, in addition, the engagement with spirits on a more positive level, I also learnt that these faux pas should be avoided at all costs. Still, on a positive note, after 2 years of experiencing these odd occurrences, it strengthened my resolve to learn from this mistake and chant more and connect with spiritual teachings, believing that if you have faith and truly follow these practices, it can bring positive outcomes. Sometimes it's all about how you approach these beliefs and the confidence you bring to your practices. I wish to share a Buddhist chant that helped me go separate ways with my heart condition. Rock from PressStartLiving will upload this powerful chant to his channel, and you will all be able to benefit from the powerful energies of this chant. It is my way of thanking you all for your support, and I hope you can benefit from it as much as I did.